Minnesota Wild goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury. Round of applause. Just, it never gets it. What they've been able to do without their top players. You don't got a Brock Faber. You don't got a Jonas Brodin. You don't got a Jared Spurgeon. You don't got a Kirill Kaprizov. You don't have a Jakub Lauko. Do we want me to continue to go on this injury list? That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The playing and the goals.
Yeah, that's what you guys like. It's great. There's just a lot more to it, you know?
People see some Bardown beauties, but that is impressive stuff. Way to go, ladies.
Your nostalgic SotaStick favorites are back, and they are in stock now at SotaStick.com. From the Met Center colored seats, my personal favorite tee, to the getting blown out the Metrodome door, rep the Minnesota sports timeless vibes with a SotaStick hat, hoodie, tee, whatever suits you and their nostalgic vibes. SotaStick has all the best gear in the game. Don't forget to smash Bardown Beauties at checkout for 15% off all your purchases. Again, that's at SotaStick.com.
At Jim Beam, they know the importance of tradition, like chanting, "Let's play hockey" prior to the start of each game, or playing the state of hockey anthem after a Wild win. This season, raise one to your fan family with the bourbon that invites us all to come as friends and leave as family. Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey, the official bourbon whiskey partner of the Minnesota Wild and XL Energy Center. Drink smart. Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2021. James B. Beam Distilling Company, Incorporated, Fairmont, Kentucky.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Bardown Beauties, episode 252. I'm Jesse Pierce. She's Karsten Kroll. Your Minnesota Wild splitting the 2-game road trip. Continue to be a better team away from St. Paul, Kirsten. They're back in St. Paul for 2 this weekend. But at this point, I want them to be a road playoff team. Like, I don't want them to
be a road team because that's the only time they've been winning.
What is that all about? Like, John Hines said there's like this, they haven't really, been overly disappointed, and they're getting some wins here and there. But let's just dive right into that aspect of it. We got Q's with the Beauts coming up as well. But this is my biggest question for the team this year. How do you translate these road victories to home? We've asked it numerous episodes at this point. It's just frustrating to watch because, March, you are home all the freaking time, so you better figure that out. But you look at the game in Colorado where they are tied going into the third. They come out hot to start the third, and I don't know that if it were at home, you were going to get that victory. You were going to have that same performance.
Honestly, I'm at a loss at this point. I'm at a loss because you see what they can do against Colorado, but then you look back on how they played against Colorado at home.
Yeah.
It baffles my mind. I don't know again, I don't think anyone knows really what the problem is at home as opposed to on the road. It should be harder on the road than it is at home. And then we've talked too about the fan aspect. It sucks for the fans because they're paying money to see their team win, and they're playing like garbage most of the time this season at home.
It's bizarre, right? Like, it's just very bizarre. And again, as we've mentioned, I would rather have a good road team because it's a more challenging thing, but that's always because you have the assumption that you are going to play well at home in addition to being a good road team. So it's just kind of beyond. Now you're looking at the next 2 home games here this week in St. Paul against Utah, and then Hockey Day, which you always win. Like, there is some insane stat. I don't know how often they've ever lost on Hockey Day, but they got the Calgary Flames, who are met Utah, who is 2 on paper winnable games. Plus, Kirsten, health might be coming back around. You might be looking at a Kirill Kaprizov. You might be looking at a Jared Spurgeon return. Jonas Brodin, I believe, has started skating. He's still a little bit away from a return. Sorry, particularly to you for that news. But really, you're looking at nearly a fully healthy lineup. How much is that going to help maybe in the home struggles too? I don't even know. It's bizarre because that has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't.
I'm just feeling very pessimistic this morning in regards to all of this because, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but when the last few rounds we've had of players getting injured, unfortunately, we'd have them come back healthy just for another one to immediately get injured and go back out. And so I'm not confident, I guess. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm praying that the health fully returns, but I'm just very nervous at this point that history will repeat itself and we'll gain these players back, but then in the process,
you lose an
it's just like it's one of those meme circles. It's like
true.
Healthy team, someone gets hurt, they come back, someone else gets hurt. Repeat.
No, that is the way it's trending. Marcus Johansson, the latest to endure that. Connor McDavid, however, does get 3-game suspension for the following evenings, or the next games rather, against Connor Garland, who, again, every time I see Connor Garland get into a tussle on the ice, all I think about is that time that Nathan McKinnon hucked Garland's own helmet at his face. I'm going to try to insert that clip because it cracks me up. It's from so long ago, too. I think it was in the bubble. And it's so funny. Like, that's how long ago this is, but it lives rent-free in my head every time I hear Connor Garland's name. Like, it's just the emphasis in which his head goes back after taking this helmet to the face. The little effort Nathan McKinnon did, but he did it also to hit him. It was just, it's so funny. You have to look it up. It's so funny. But McDavid suspended 3 games, which is always kind of shocking. In that respect, Marcus Johansson will be out, I think, for a little bit in concussion protocol. I find it funny. I have to say it, Kirsten. The Minnesota Wild and the NHL as a whole is so archaic and far behind in regard to letting us know what those injuries are, right? Like, they're never, it's always up or lower. We don't know how it's day-to-day. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov has been day-to-day for the past month. Clearly, it wasn't a day-to-day situation, right? But in Marcus Johansson's situation, where he was elbowed, I believe, by Connor McDavid, there was a chicken wing there.
Absolutely,
they were very quick to say it's a concussion that Marcus Johansson. Just, I felt like that was so intentional and so deliberate to be like, hey, Connor McDavid's elbow that went uncalled concussed our player.
Well, also, when you did look back at the clip, especially in slow motion, you can see how bad it was for the refs to have turned and said, Johansson hit himself in the face with his own stick. Like, that is bad. And it doesn't look good when it's the star player who's seeming the poster boy of the entire NHL. Doesn't look good at all when that is said in accordance to the no call and kind of the history of things working out in favor by the refs.
We spoke to Wes Walls at practice. I think it was the next day or day after, whatever it was, about that situation. He's like, what makes it worse is, the official blatantly lying about it. He's like, it's one thing to be like, you know what, man, I missed the call. He's like, as a player, then you can kind of accept that. As a coach,
that's
you can
owning your stuff. That's owning your stuff. Like, I made a mistake, and refs are human. But when again, going back to lying,
right? Like, it's just a blatant, and certainly there's a level of trust that Wes had said between the officials and the players. Then, like, the player doesn't go immediately to his coach and be like, hey, he missed that call, blah blah blah, you should do this. Like, the players, I'm like, okay, you'll get us back. You know that you were kind of in the wrong there, blah blah blah. So that was just kind of an interesting aspect, I think, too, was like the feel that they needed to cover that up is egregious. Now, I'm going to say there's a glimmer of light in the silver lining, if you will, in the Marcus Johansson injury. Not that anybody wants to get hurt, especially concussions, especially a player like JoJo who has a history of concussions. You do get to see a Liam Ogren. You get to see a Liam Ogren in the top 6, which is good. Now he got bumped down in the Colorado game to the 3rd line, but you got to see what that looks like. I would like to applaud us, Kirsten, because we had Liam Ogren on as a guest last week. If anything, Bill Guerin, who we know is an avid listener of the pod because he knows the insight that we have, he saw Liam on our podcast last week and said, you know what, this guy is the next call-up. That's probably what happened.
I agree. Some would call us bad luck, Macklin Celebrini, and that is a true story, everybody. And some would call us good luck. I think Liam would say we're good luck.
Yeah, I would agree. And certainly he did a little bit to help himself too down in
I mean,
Iowa.
yes, he was doing all the right
He was
things.
doing all the right things. But that's exciting. You get to see Liam get this opportunity. Again, not sure how long Johansson will be out. And certainly not guaranteed that Kirill Kaprizov is returning anytime soon either. We'll know more come Wednesday practice, I imagine, before that Thursday game. The schedule does lend itself to a little bit of healing power, if you will, for those injured guys. That brings me to the next question, Kirsten. David Jiricek. We also got to see David Jiricek. Brilliant passing, brilliant in the offensive zone, especially for a defenseman. I think that was one of the highlights that Bill Guerin had mentioned when they went and traded for him from the Columbus Blue Jackets a while ago. But you saw that on full display with that pass to Yakov Trenin, the way that he dipsy-doodled around the Colorado defenseman and found Trenin for the go-ahead goal. Now, with Spurgeon potentially coming back, with Brodin coming back, what do you think that means for Jiricek? Do you think Jiricek has asserted himself at all in the very few games that we've actually seen him play as an opportunity to fight for a spot? Or do you think that the Minnesota Wild, knowing how they are with their patience, knowing what they like to do as far as letting players develop in Iowa, do you think Jiricek even has a shining chance of staying up here? You still have your Dermots, you've got Merrills, you've got the players here. Do you think that Jiricek has shown a little bit, especially in that Colorado game? That was by far and away his best game that we've seen as of yet, skating included. You saw him skate for such a big body dude. Do you think that he has shown enough, or probably not quite yet?
I mean, I think his performance is reaffirming to this is why we did the haul with Columbus that we did in order to get him here. And maybe puts the critics who said he was overpaid at rest a little bit. But I don't think it's more of a matter of he hasn't done enough. I think it goes back to what you said about how the Wild organization is just very patient, and it's been stated they want him rather to play the big minutes down in Iowa as opposed to, sitting in the press box or whatnot up here.
No.
I think, in my opinion, he's earned more of a shot to be on the roster with the Wild, but I just don't think that's part of their development plan for him right now. Kind of similar in a way to Liam Ogren too. Like, in my opinion, I would say Ogren's done enough, but they want him to continue to get the big playing time down in Iowa.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And I think you're absolutely right. And again, we've only seen a little bit of him, and they have the guys that they know are tried and true. And even, when we asked Bill Guerin a couple weeks ago when he was on the pod about, was it a signing for the future? I think that was very much what Guerin had mentioned. Like, this is a guy that we are expecting to be a part of the blue line moving forward. And certainly he can come in and play, and he's shown just that. So I would agree. I don't know that it's going to be like, darn, you get Spurgeon Broads back and Jiricek's gone. Like, I think that'll be fine. We will be fine.
Can you imagine that actually being said? That sounds ridiculous when you put it that way.
It does, right? But I think, it's the shiny new toy. We certainly love shiny new toys, from the fan perspective, from the media perspective. It's the shiny new toy. An tried but true toy, Marc-Andre Fleury, and we'll talk a little bit more about him in our Cues of the Beauts in the next segment. But he's done, again, this year, when you ask him to step in and help win games, like he started in Nashville, right, which was not a great game. Kirsten and I were at the Wolves game cheering them on, but kept a side eye.
Who also
that didn't end well. No, that didn't end well either. But Marc-Andre Fleury kept them from scoring 8, 9, 10 goals, I think. And Marc-Andre Fleury does a good job in Colorado, keeps them very close within it, stopping, the McKinnons of the world. How good is this tandem going to be moving forward? Now, Gus was backed up, so he was just out with an illness. There was a bug going around, which I'm sure I'm going to get because I have had intense conversations with every sick player in that room. I know.
I think you would have known by now.
I would have known by now. I think I've dodged the bullet.
I think I'm not a virologist or whatever they're calling.
Is that a thing? Virologist?
I don't think I'm saying it right. But I mean, yes, like it's a thing, but I just don't think I'm pronouncing it right. So
sure.
My apologies. No, I think you have like a 48-hour window before you can get infected, but your symptoms won't show for 48 hours.
I like to think the germ mongrels that are my children have helped further build up my immune system. I thought I had a fantastic immune system until I had kids. And then I learned, as the meme goes, I just didn't have people coughing in my face as often as I do now. But now I do. They've made me like a superhuman.
They expose you to everything.
So gross.
Especially
they're
being in
here.
school. They catch everything and they give it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, when they are in school, unlike today. Kids are getting soft out there. Soft, I tell you. Just ridiculous.
Back in my day.
I know. But I do. I'm liking the tandem. I've never questioned Marc-Andre Fleury's ability. That's a lie. I questioned it last year. Last year was tough. It was tough in the goaltending for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, Marc-Andre, again, at 40 years old, is coming in and is able to not only play his style, which is the windmill, which is the dramatics, which is the fun, but he's very sufficient in stopping the puck still too, which is nice to see, because you're going to need 2 goaltenders for this last stretch here before the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I don't know, granted, not every game is like that, but you expect it to not be, like in his final season, and especially too, like with his age for a goaltender, what he's been able to do, like you just had mentioned, is amazing, because you do kind of taper off when you get to the back end of your career. And like he's had glimpses of that, but overall just still showing his vintage self in a lot of ways. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really, no notes. I agree with you.
No notes. I know. Sometimes I set that up just so I can hear myself talk, I think. Like I have a thought
you didn't
that
really
I need
leave
to get
anything for me to like say anything, because I don't disagree.
Yeah. I just need to get that out there. But maybe you did. Maybe there was a, we never know.
I don't think so. Not this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna do it. Let's wrap it up in this section, this segment, this chapter, if you will. We're gonna start
Monday.
It's a very Monday. We need to start a Bardown Beauties book review, I think, because I didn't realize I have another hockey book. I told you about my C. Jane score, which I fell in love with in middle school, which is about a hockey journalist who, ironically, goes with a goaltender too, which is even crazy.
Amazing.
For my maybe that's where my heavy criticism on goalies comes from, is I read this book and this journal. I don't know. Who knows?
And they just haven't met your expectations.
Exactly.
Oh.
I imagined Henrik Lundqvist, I think, every time. I think that was the very easy go-to book. But I found another one that I must have gotten. But this one's like more absurd. I forget the name of it, but it is like she's a baker and he's a hockey player, and then they're starting this cooking show together to help promote the team. Yeah, I haven't.
You know why I think I love these books so much?
They're so
it's
obscure.
giving a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Yes,
every single one of these books gives Hallmark Christmas movie, and it's so predictable, but you can't put it down. And I have so many of these books to read.
I know. So
I have a new one, and it's not hockey related. So our book reviews will be hockey related. But then I was at Walmart the other day just browsing, and I saw one called Near Misses and Cowboy Kisses, and I bought it. And I can't wait to read it.
Let us know. We've been trying so many new things this year in the episodes. We've got new setup. We're going to have new intros coming in and out. We've dropped the secret word. I'm sorry, Alicia. I will still give you a prize because you're the best, but I stopped the secret word because I just kept forgetting.
Well, you teed it up now to insert a set secret word.
BookTok. Or book.
Yeah, hashtag BookTok.
Hashtag BookTok. Since TikTok didn't go away.
TikTok is back. And for those who are wondering, it is spelled hashtag BOOKTOK. BookTok.
Yes. BookTok. That'll be our final secret word ever, because I just forget about it. But
until you mention it next week.
And if I mention it next week,
and then I'm like, oh, I guess we got to do another one.
There's always a possibility. We're flying by the seat of our pants once in a while, especially at this juncture of the year. It's fun. The Minnesota Wild are retaining their position in the Central. Can't win at home, but that's okay. We take what we can get. I'm distracted. I can hear my children outside my door cackling because they think it's funny to ruin my podcast and my life again.
They want to be stars.
Avery, I can get. The boys, I don't understand. They're just doing it to be cruel and unusual. This is the last time I take them outdoor skating. I'll tell you what.
Ooh.
Yeah. I do that for me, though. I don't do that for them. Let's be honest. I do it for me and the gram. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, cues with the Beauts. Okay. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Jesse Pierce here for Livea Weight Control Centers. It's a new year, and why not get a new you? Start 2025 off strong with Livea. Livea is taking weight loss to the next level. The same trusted team of registered dietitians, nutritionists, and registered nurses you know and love now offer even more tools for success. Join Livea today and receive 25% off GLP-1 weight loss medications, all doses, plus 25% off Livea's award-winning nutrition programs. Livea's you-centric approach creates a personalized plan just for you. You guys know my story. I am down more than 40 pounds. Not only have I dropped the weight, though, you guys, I've managed to keep it off. That's thanks to my Woodbury Clinic team of dietitians. I'm using the nutrition plan, plus pairing it with the GLP-1 medications just to give me that extra boost, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I look good. I feel good. That's what I want for you. So start 2025 off strong with Livea. Join today and receive 25% off GLP-1 medications and Livea's award-winning nutrition program. With 9 convenient Livea centers, there's never been a better time to start. Visit livea.com, that's Livea.com, or call 855-GO-LIVEA to schedule your free consultation. Let's make 2025 your year to succeed. Livea, where they do weight loss differently. What's up? We're back. Hopefully the noisy children are not. Let's dive into some cues with the Beauts. Now I have to do a disclaimer and apologize. So I posted this on our Instagram story and had people with the ability to submit questions on the Instagram story, as you can do. We got some really good ones. The Instagram story disappeared before I was able to grab any of them. So that's my bad. I apologize if you do not hear your cue in this segment, because that's why I don't, and I'm not tech savvy enough to go back and figure it out. So next time I'll know better, but I apologize.
You know what? Accountability.
It is. So it's not that we skipped it. It went away. It disappeared.
So.
But we did get some good ones teed up.
Metaverse.
Exactly. Again, maybe it'll come back like TikTok. I still can't believe it was not even like 24 hours.
Everyone knew that was going to happen. It was a ploy. It was literally a political stunt. Is what
very
it was.
much. Very much.
We're not going to get into it, but that is all it was.
It's so ridiculous. I know you're big on the TikTok scene.
Oh, I'm chronically online.
Yes. Selfishly, I was like, if it goes away, that'd be kind of nice, because it's one less platform I need to worry about cutting clips for, or like entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, that's really selfishly, that's where I was at. Sometimes I scroll it, but I'm not. Yeah. Like, sometimes the things that I like are just like the TV show clips, which is kind of funny.
I'm on BookTok right now. It's a place I never thought I would be, but I am.
Exactly. See, maybe that's our TikTok content, is our BookTok content.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our cues content. We got some good ones, as I mentioned. First one up from our dear friends, Fab 5 hockey fans in Minnesota. They say, look into your Beauts crystal ball. When is the first game the Minnesota Wild will be back at full strength? So I'm taking full strength as absolutely 0 injuries. That means Spurge, Broads, Kirill, and Johansson.
Oh, okay. So I'm answering first.
Sorry. I left that. I didn't put the statement question mark in. So yes, when will all 4? So, and no other injuries. We can't.
After the 4 Nations break.
Okay.
I don't have a calendar in front of me, so I can't give you an exact date. I think February 23rd is one of the first. That or the first home game.
No, it's like the 7th. It starts earlier, so their break. It's funny because if you look at the Minnesota Wild schedule or any NHL team schedule, the break isn't as big as you think it should be, right? So the Wild have a game on February 8th, and then I believe that's the start of the break. So it's that week of like the 9th through the 15th, blah, blah, blah. And then they play again on the 22nd.
So the 22nd is
so your weeks off are like the 9th through the 21st or whatever. I'm sure I think you probably practice on the 21st again.
So that was a day off.
Yeah.
So February.
Well, no, but it starts the week prior to what you were thinking, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
But after 4 Nations. Oh,
After
sorry.
4
You were saying
Nations.
they're back on the 23rd.
Yeah.
Or 22nd. Okay. Yes. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Do you think Jonas Brodin plays in 4 Nations?
At this rate, I would hope he does. I mean, personally for him, I hope he does, because I'm assuming that is something he has been looking forward to.
Yes.
But this is like the 3rd time this season he has sat out due to injury. I would rather him take the time to rest, because like, yes, like it's amazing. It's so cool. It's an honor to represent your country, especially in a tournament like this. But it's like your job with the Wild is your number one priority, and I'm sure he knows that. We need him healthy here and not for Four Nations.
Yeah,
So
I
at this
think
point, with him repeatedly going out due to injury, something's aggravating him. He needs to take the time to heal. And if he has 2 weeks to do that on a break, he needs to do that.
yeah, I say no Four Nations for him. Unfortunately, right? It's circumstance. I'm sure he would probably agree with that. I'm sure that conversation's had with Bill and everybody. Like, you need to be back, good and situated. Now, if this injury isn't as bad as it could be, and he's playing before Four Nations, then maybe you consider it. But yeah, you're right. There's been more than one injury to him this year that you can't risk it. And I'm sure he would agree to, especially with the Wild sitting in the playoff positioning that they are. You need him on the ice come April. So
In bubble wrap, clearly.
Yes. That being said, though, I think you're probably right. I think after Four Nations, you've got a healthy looking squad.
Unless, God forbid, somebody gets injured at Four
Yeah, but
Nations.
our Beauts crystal ball is not saying that. It's saying
Okay,
yes.
that's true. That's true. And unless Billy's like, hey, this guy needs to just rest for a game. I hope he doesn't do that. I don't
A
really
magic
see him
8 ball.
doing that, but you never know. I guess. No. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Derek Felska. Should Marat Kuznetsov be sent to Iowa to demonstrate some offensive ability so he can bring some of that back to the big club instead of having a fourth line that doesn't score at all?
Aggressive from Derek there on that fourth line that's not scoring. I've been very underwhelmed with Marat, and maybe it's because we were kind of I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. There was a very excitable about the potential of Marat Kuznetsov, right? Like, we kept hearing all these great things, and not to say that he's not a good player. I think he's a very suitable player, but yeah, I think I had higher expectations for him. I think I saw him really manning that third line. I saw him taking Freddie Gaudreau's position, right? But Derek's right. Maybe a little stint in Iowa would help pull some out. But my question is to myself too, maybe he's not the player that I was expecting him to be. Maybe this is kind of the guy that they wanted him to be, the guy that they needed him to be. Does he need to score a little bit more? Yes, but I don't know that that was necessarily in his wheelhouse or tool belt fully anyway. He's a smaller dude. He skates okay. Maybe he is that sustainable fourth line center who can win you some draws.
I was just about to say,
there.
I think we just need him in the face-off circle.
Right. Like, I think that's it. I think that's what he brings. I think he's, again, very viable there. So I don't see him going down to Iowa, if only for he's one of your decent centermen. So that's my take. So no, it wouldn't be bad, but I think we just need to lower our expectations for number 22 a little bit.
Well put.
Thank you. Funny guy, that one, though. He's just a funny guy.
I don't know anything about him.
He just kind of makes me laugh. Like, he just kind of has this goofy look about him once in a while. Like, in a good way. Like, he's just kind of funny to me.
Just a chill guy.
Just a chill dude. Yeah. Next question comes from John Pretty, and this to you particularly, Kirsten.
Ironic.
Does Kirsten really wear all white skates to play hockey, and how do they stay white? My skates get so scuffed up so quickly. It's worse than being a kid with new shoes at school. He's referring to, I had used a photo of us putting skates on in this Q&A call out where Kirsten has her fancy smancy Bauer skates that are all white, and those are your favorite skates. Those are these skates that you wear, right?
Well, they're like an off-white, to be fair. Also, John, when you skate like I do, you're not scuffing up skates. Because I go so slow, I'm not falling. I'm not hitting the skates. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
I do love those skates. I did buy the wrong size, so they're a little big. So I just got to double up on socks around the ankles for a little more support. But you know what? My feet are warm.
We are looking for our next outdoor hockey game. So if you guys want us to come play outdoor hockey with you, please toss the invite in. We had intended to do that earlier, but it got a little frigid.
Yeah, we got hit with the polar vortex.
Who's to know? You never know.
All right,
I don't know.
Another question. Hockey coach. Minnesotans are used to sports disappointment. I believe the Wild are a playoff team, but are they truly a Stanley Cup caliber team?
I'm glad that you read that one because you read it with such kind of anger and disappointment in your voice. If that was, I'm sure, was unintentional.
It was unintentional, but I guess no, I don't always sound that way. You guys just catch me at bad moments to where I feel like I always sound that way on the podcast. Guys, I worked 14 hours yesterday. I'm tired. I rolled out of bed earlier than I expected to.
Classic.
Yeah. My coffee hasn't hit yet.
Yeah, there it is.
This is my first cup. No, this is literally my first cup. Yes. Yeah, we're rolling. We're doing our best.
I'm going to make a drinking game out of my coffee hasn't hit yet. I haven't had my coffee this morning. That would be every week. People would be able to do that.
I almost spit it everywhere.
To answer hockey coach's question, no. I'm not saying that to be a pessimist, but they're a very good team. They are not a Stanley Cup contending team. They don't really quite have that pieces. I am very pleased to see what they've been able to do with the depth that they have. I am excited to see what Bill Guerin is potentially going to do come trade deadline. We'll talk more about that as that gets closer. I don't know that they are fully built like that. You still have a very weak bottom six. You have a weak bottom defensive pair. Good news is you've got good goaltending, right? Which I think can lift you through. And also that's the exciting thing about the NHL is anybody can really stick it to you. Maybe not quite in the playoff format as it sits, but no, I would be very surprised if they went on a run. Frankly, I'd be a little surprised if they get out of the first round. Again, not trying to be negative. I'm pleased with where they're at. They're still missing some big pieces, especially up the middle and kind of in that depth scenario for them to be contenders.
Well, I counter you. If fully healthy, I could see them making a Cinderella run in the postseason, but it would end in heartbreak because I don't think they would win the cup. I think they could make it maybe to the conference final with a fully healthy Wild squad if they were playing like they were when they were number one in the entire league. If they could maintain that, find that glimmer again, come the postseason, end of the season, come in really hot. Because as we know, half of hockey is getting hot at the right time. But also, I could see people being super disappointed, being like, oh, Minnesota sports were frauds. But if that were to happen, that would be a miracle because, as you had said, we are not built quite yet to win the cup. But I could see them doing a Cinderella run.
I think counterpoint once again. I agree. I think that could be really fun. You look at the teams that they're losing to, the Edmontons, and yes, granted, injuries are within these losses too, but you're losing to your top teams in the West. And it's funny because we broached this topic with Matt Boldy in the locker room, and Boldy a little snipedly was like, well, we're top five. We're a top five team. How is this a problem that we're not? It's like, because you're still losing to the teams that are better than you. Like, of course, you could say, well, that's where we sit. But that, to me, those types of responses are like, oh, you're just content on being there. Like, no, you need to be able to beat Vegas. You need to be able to beat. Now, they did do that against Colorado. I thought that was a very good win. Colorado's goaltending has picked up dramatically too, so they're not even shaky there. But you need to be able to beat an Edmonton, right? So I think that's where I'm always held back. It's like, well, until they show me that they can be very consistent in competing with those, or even the Floridas, then I will always have my mindset. Not necessarily the disappointed Minnesota sports fan, if you will, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'd be surprised. A Cinderella run, though, would make sense because, yes, that says that you're kind of shocked that they were able to do it, right?
Yeah. Honestly, we're kind of in the thick of it now. My opinion, I think we're going to see kind of similar to the Thanksgiving break or Christmas break, where you're seeing okay, where teams are sitting, who's kind of for real and who's kind of getting out of the picture now. I think we'll really kind of have more of a glimpse come early April, late March.
Like when the playoffs are there.
Well, when the playoffs are looming. Yes.
Like when the NHL tells us who's in the playoff. No, just kidding.
No, when we're really close.
Yeah. I feel you. Next question comes from Dino. What do you think our D looks like next year? I think Chisholm has shown he has a ton of upside. Your thoughts? Plus Zeev, Brodin, Faber, Mids, Spurgeon, and Jiricek are locks, correct? Do you trade Bogo, Lambos, maybe Chisholm? In parentheses, no. Not sure any of them want to be in Des Moines. Great question. The defense, and again, go back and listen to our episode with Bill Guerin from like 2 weeks back, because we talked about this, like how exciting that blue line is, because Z Boyum, who is probably going to come this year, I don't know that he'll necessarily have the Brock Faber impact, but if he does, oh boy, imagine that. Jake Middleton has unlocked a new level of his game. He scored in Colorado the other night.
Also,
Spurgeon...
Jake Middleton, friends with Noah Khan. Noah Khan literally showed up in disguise to the Nashville game to go see Midzi.
And Midzi just tarps off and everything, goes
He
and
didn't even
hangs
have
out with
pants
them.
on.
He did. I'll ask him about that tomorrow. You know,
As
I
you
will.
should. He's literally like in his boxers or whatever, up in the stands, just hanging with Noah Khan.
Like, I need to know how that connection was ever made. Is it because they're like
It was
beard
because
buddies?
of the concert. I'm pretty sure they met at the concert for the 2 nights in St. Paul over the summer.
Well, I saw that, but like guys do that all the time, right? Like I've seen them go backstage and do that all the time, but you never see that translate to a friendship.
Okay, but Noah Khan, I get vibes. He is just the chillest man alive, matched with the other chillest man alive.
True.
Like, I could see those two just broing it up so hard. Like, I can't imagine a better best friend dynamic than Noah Khan and Jake Middleton.
Like, they definitely have each other's phone numbers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But apparently Noah Khan doesn't have Jake Middleton's actual Instagram. He tagged some random account that was not Jake Middleton.
Stop, did he?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
It's
not always
amazing.
fully invested on that side of things, but that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm excited to find out about that, because I saw that too. That's classic.
It made my life.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, but back to the question, and you want me to take the floor, my initial
Yes.
thoughts with this.
Obviously.
I do not want to see Declan Chisholm go. I think he has exceeded expectations for Minnesota and a steal of a waiver pickup from Winnipeg. I've liked his game. I think he's brought a lot. I would love to see Chisholm stay as part of our decor. I agree. I think as soon as Denver's season is done, which honestly, I could see them winning another national championship, but the second that's done, see them hopping on another red eye to come to Minnesota and join, pending how the schedule works. I see him on the Minnesota Wild by the end of the year. As far as Bogo, Lambos, I don't know. And Jiricek, I don't think they gave away all of the capital that they had to acquire him for him to stay down in Iowa next season. He's going to be up here.
I mean, obviously, not mentioned John Merrill. He's a free agent after this year. You're gonna let him walk. I forget what was in. This is where I hate that the Washington Capitals purchased Cap Friendly from me, because I cannot go back and find, because they just signed Zach Bogosian to maybe a 2-year contract right now, and he's a player too that I could see. I hate to say it. Do you explore him at the deadline? Because he's that veteran piece, right? Like, you'd have to eat a little bit of salary. But I think that he's a player that most teams would be satisfied to have. Now, I know Bogo loves it here. He has loved it here even before he came to play for the Wild. He's got a place in Wisconsin, I think. Like, he's very big into this area. And I think Bill Guerin does always have a soft spot for some of that, whether he wants to admit it or not. But yeah, I think Declan Chisholm, I think you keep him you keep him very close around and not in Iowa, if only for that safety insurance that you are going to need for Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon. Because again,
we know we're going to need it.
Exactly. Like, it's fact of the matter. And I think Spurgeon is definitely a big question mark, even heading into next year and moving forward. We know what he can bring, but with his age, the way he plays, and with the injuries that he's faced, it's tough. It is tough to watch. It's tough to imagine a 100% healthy year for him. Now, it's possible. Zach Parise was able to do it, right? His final season. That was great. But yeah, that being said, I think Chisholm has to stay around. I think you would explore maybe a Bogo situation. Carson Lambos, to me, completely gone off the radar. There's a reason you're not seeing him get the recall, right? Like, I don't think they are impressed with him as a brass up here. So Lambos definitely in on out of here.
Well done. Moving on now to Von Trzynski. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Why isn't Marat in Iowa? He has no offensive game. Is it because he wouldn't report? Have you heard anything? Jesse.
I haven't heard anything. And again, going back to Derek F's question, right? It is curious. I think our expectations were maybe a smidge high. And that's the Minnesota Wild's fault, frankly, for telling us that this was going to be a game-changing centerman. He comes over, he leaves the KHL early, he comes over here. There's a lot of excitement. And again, I think he's fine. He's serviceable. I wouldn't say he has no offensive game. You see spurts of it there once in a while. I don't know if he would report to Iowa. I'm sure he doesn't seem like a guy that's going to raise a fuss if they absolutely said you have to. I don't have cap friendly, so I don't know these ins and outs. I don't know if he has to be put on waivers, and I don't know that he'd clear waivers either. I think that's something to be considered. I don't know. Just lower the expectations. He's fine on the fourth line. Just let him be. Let him do his thing.
Let him vibe for a minute.
Let him vibe for a minute. Next question. We're just about done here with our cues with the Beauts. Bruce B wants to know, I know Flower said recently that he would not come back for one more year, but with Valstead being a big unknown at this point and Flower playing even better than last year, what does your gut tell you about him changing his mind?
He's not changing his mind. I think last season he was maybe set on retiring, and then halfway through the season or early in the back end, that's when he maybe had the change of heart and changed his mind to stay for one more season. This season, he is not changing his mind. And I think he has also reiterated that in a recent interview too, where he's like, no, he's like, I'm not doing the whole, I'm going to retire. No, I'm going to stay for one more year. He's not doing that. He seems pretty set. Like this is his decision. And, his kids are still young. I think maybe he wants to take a crack at being home with them more too. I don't know.
I think it's going to be hard, like it is for any player, especially him, because he is a dude that loves to compete, right? He's a guy that loves being in the locker room. I don't think he knows what that's like to remove that in any capacity, but he is such a family dude too. And I think he's very excited about having that. Selfishly, of course, I'd love for him to stick around another year. I would love for him to mentor Jesper. I would love for him just to be around the boys in that some capacity, right? And maybe there's room for that. I don't know that he would do that here. I would be shocked if he didn't want to do that in Pittsburgh with his friends there, or if he wanted to do that in Montreal back home. But again, you're right, Kirsten, he's got kids here, so that's a big factor as to where he wants to be. But yeah, he is not. He told, I believe, all media post game in Vegas that he would not be changing his mind, because he doesn't like the fanfare in the first place, and it feels like it's kind of been 2 years of it. So here we are. As much as I'd love to, Flower, he gone.
Flower. All right, John B, bring it on home. John B, that's not a Banks reference if you're not familiar. Does this afternoon's rebuttal change views on the Wild's depth minus impact players?
I think so, and he's referring to the Colorado game, obviously, on Monday. They played better, but again, that's what's so funny about this team. The games that they should be absolutely down and out, even the Edmonton game in Minnesota before they started this road trip, it's like, oh, they're gonna get absolutely plastered, right? They got no Brody, and they had nobody. Those are the games that they tend to win, which again, I think speaks to the mindset that John Hines has these guys vibing in. I think that's a huge difference, because as I've said before, they went through the same thing last year. They had the same injuries last year to Kirill, to Zuccarello. I mean, everybody wants to say, oh, that's why they were so bad last year. That hasn't changed really that much. They just got off to a better start despite injuries, and they stayed healthier maybe a little bit longer. But I think there's just this different mentality around the team that it is any guy can step up. Anybody can do that. I still don't love the depth. Again, I go back to that's why they're not a contending team. I don't know that it's necessarily there for the long haul, but it does make you feel a little bit better that there's at least a little potential. It's not completely scraping the bottom of the barrel. So yeah, I would say that win in Colorado was a nice ego boost for all those guys too.
Agreed.
Okay. And our final question then from Dustin P. Jones. Did Connor McDavid get a third game tacked on as a little nod to the JoJo hit?
Maybe, but I don't think so. I think they had moved on from Johansson. I think if they were taking that one into consideration, they maybe and should have added on one or two more. It's just, it's a really bad look when you're taking those hits to players, accidental or not. He seemed remorseful in the interview with TNT when Biz called him out on it, and like he seemed like he was like, you don't want to hurt another player. At least I like to think so. I don't think that was McDavid's intention, but it looks really bad when it happens in nearly back-to-back games that you have a bad hit on another player.
I mean, a cross check to the face is way more egregious than a little chicken wing
but,
elbow too, right?
Yes, but also, unfortunately, Johansson also a hit to the head, an elbow you could have kept down.
Yeah.
It looks really bad when it happens, not just once, but then you look back in recent history and it's back to back.
Yeah. I think Johansson oversold it too. There was a little bit of embellishment on
Maybe
his
a
part.
little, but
Yeah.
regardless, watch the tape in slow-mo. It didn't look good either.
No, I mean, and again, I think those are little things that happen in the game, as the guys like to say, prison rules sometimes go on out there, and you're going to see more and more of that. But yeah, Connor McDavid's not a dirty dude, right? And he's not necessarily using the fact that he's the superstar in the league to get away with stuff. And that if he does, that's the officials, right? That's not even necessarily him. That's just going to be the officials doing their thing.
Got to learn to keep his hands and stick down.
Yeah, the Department of Player Safety in general is kind of a joke. Like, there's no consistency to their fines, their suspensions, to anything.
No,
like,
there's not.
I take it with a grain of salt, but
it's kind of a, how are we feeling today?
Yeah.
What do we want to give out?
Very much so. Very, very much so. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you guys to everybody who submitted questions. Thank you guys for always checking us out. Hockey Day Minnesota this week starts Wednesday in Shakopee. Kirsten and I will be roaming out there as best we can all weekend long. Your Minnesota Wild are, in fact, playing, obviously, Saturday night against the Calgary Flames, hosting the Utah Hockey Club on Thursday. Until then, as always, shout out to our friends Grainbelt, SotaStick, Royal Credit Union, Jim Beam, Livea, and Talk North. Thank you, all of you. Toodles. Have a good one. Bye.